storefront, you have to get people to come to you. And so a big part of what we do is we're on Instagram a lot. We post all those on Instagram, by the way, if you haven't yet. I think you'll like what you see. So we have a good campaign, marketing campaign. We reach all over the world. We show artists from around the world, from about 85% Philadelphia artists, and the other 15% about 10% of those would be U.S. and about 5% from overseas.
How do they find you?
JamesOliverGallery.com or James Oliver Gallery, at James Oliver Gallery on Instagram. Facebook, you can find us there too.
What are your hours?
Relatively limited. It's 5 to 8, Wednesday through Friday, and then Saturdays from 1 to 8, and also by appointment. And I have about 3 assistants, all part-time, and we are a commercial gallery. And although sometimes it feels like we're nonprofit. But no, it's cool, and we push the rim sometimes more than most commercial galleries do, So some works that you might only see in a nonprofit.
Are you 50%?
Yeah.
Commission?
Yeah, it varies too. With prints, we take a less commission. We take 40%, and then as what's standard a lot in galleries too is as if a person has seen a piece of the show and they may be interested in it, and they approach us like say a month or 2 later, we get a smaller percentage after the show. Then it goes down as time passes. Our percentage.
Like over a year or 2 years?
Over a span of about 6 months.
6 months, okay.
6 to 9 months, and then. But sometimes artists, every once in a while, they're just so grateful that they were able to sell this piece that might be a little bit more pricier, and they found it through the gallery, and they're grateful. I go, I want to give you the 50%. I'm not going to turn it down. I'll try not to turn it down, but usually when somebody does that, it's like it comes from their heart. So you're like, okay, I'm not going to deny it.
Right.
So that's how that goes. And we hope to be around for a long time. When I started my gallery, I didn't think we'd be around. My intentions weren't to be, doing it for as long as I have been. But I still have the passion doing it, and my staff definitely has the passion, to go with their support, my support, and we really enjoyed it. And we worked with InLiquid as well many times in the past, and we can hopefully we'll continue more with working with Rachel and her team. And we talked a little bit with Carol earlier. She seemed very nice, so I'm glad that we're on the panel together. But I don't know if we're opening questions up now, or we want to do this later.
I'd like to introduce Carol and then Rachel, and then we can do a Q&A. Yeah. So please introduce yourself and your gallery.
Which is very important because we are a young gallery. We celebrated our first anniversary on January 8th of this year. So we've only been doing the Powell arts for 1 year. Prior to that, I have been an artist, art educator, curator. I'm the person from your school class who said, let's put on a show. And I would get 3 or 4 people, and then I'd write a proposal, and then I'd dig out and research places, and then I'd literally set up shows, which worked great till COVID. And I had shows on the board to go and do, and because galleries and art spaces usually plan years ahead, those just disappeared. So I was looking for a new space for me, and every place I looked had a gallery space, and I thought, why not make this permanent? It sounded like I was ready. Aside from that, I also did arts administration, but I try not to actually admit to that because it's a whole different ballgame. But it's working with artists, and it's working with art, and the bridge, which is a different market for some people. Collingswood is actually one of the stops on the high-speed line, which is how I got here. So we're very connected to Center City, Philadelphia, but we're in the Jersey burbs, which means our demographics are a little bit different than the people in the city. We have single-family homes, expect school kids, have brownie troops come in, and never underestimate the power of children. We have had, in our short time of being, at least 2 children who walked in and bought an art piece for around $500 each.
Wow.
So, be nice to those little children. You could tell their parents understood about art because first question out of the father before he handed the child their credit card was, do you negotiate price? And the answer is no. So that's always an interesting note. I like stories, you're going to find me talk too much. Anyway, so our gallery, in making this model, we took a hashtag called Art for Everyone. And that follows through in 3 ways. Art for everyone has to do with everyone in this world, at least in the United States and in my community, should have art. Art is not just a luxury item, and people are confused because they hear about art as a commodity that rich people trade with, and they also see art in home goods at Lowe's, mass-produced for hotels, and that's not art, and that's not the kind of art I mean, which means I have to educate a whole group of people who are coming in with those 2 expectations. Some are too afraid to even come through the door, so I waved at them through the window. Others, yeah, we're lucky because we are a street level gallery. Others come in and they're like, wow, the prices are so high. And so we take people on tours, including, like I said, brownie troops and other children, through the gallery, and not only explain the art, tell the stories. We have our artists do artist talks, which we put on Reels on Instagram, and we have a whole YouTube channel of artists who show with us and they explain their work. All this is to assist in making a community. And in making a community, you make buyers, and that's what we're looking for. How we sell art is a little different. Every piece of art we hang for our shows, we hang in a salon style, and there is a label. It has the artist's name, the title, and the price. There is no question that this is a gallery, but this is a gallery where we expect you, if you appreciate something, to buy it. So there's none of this, can I have a sheet of paper that tells me what the price is, because like I said, we like to really talk to the people who come in and tell them the stories. That's why artist statements are very important to us. Clear images are very important to us, and the artist talks are really important to us because all of that goes into Art for Everyone. Another part of Art for Everyone is how we get our art. We are submission-based. We do not do solo shows. Every show is a group show based on a loose theme. I think our theme that's coming up, the Jordan show is what's coming up, and the show after that is Magnificent and Unusual. So if you're doing artwork, magnificent or unusual, go to our website and you can submit 5 pieces, artist statement. We want to know about your website, if you have on Facebook, Instagram, everything is unique, one of a kind. We do carry limited edition prints in photography and printmaking, but things like we sell cards, artists make cards, but they're one of a kind. So they can range in price from $7 for a simple watercolor to $20 for something that's a little more unusual. We sell artwork that ranges in price from around $100 to $3,000. Recently, we sold a piece for $1,800, not unusual. I would say that generally, because we track everything, I'm lucky that my daughter, who is a partner in this, is young and knows all about using computers, and she's excellent with it. And I would say that generally, the things that sell best for us are under $500. So somewhere between $300 and $500, I have no argument with people. They come in and go, that money, it's wrapped up in buck. But we also sell a lot of things. They're like $100, $200, $300. Something for, like, I have a mentor of mine, Dan Chard, who does representational work, photorealism. He showed in New York and has an international reputation. I've shown his work, and his little thing like this would cost $3,500. And yes, I have to explain to people why it's $3,500, and I explain how art is not only the materials it's made from, but it also is the reputation of the artist, which is very important. And when we're talking about pricing, we will hit upon that for artists so that you keep your good reputation, so we can keep our good reputation. The last part of Art for Everyone has to do with some of the community outreach we do. Like I said, we bring in Girl Scout troops, we bring in members of the public, we do tours. We chose Collingswood not only because it has an automatic quick line into the city, but Collingswood has this thing called the BID, which is a business development arm to their government. So they literally try to support small businesses. And in supporting small businesses, of course, they brought in the arts. So we're not the only gallery there. There's Apothecary, Artist Plus, Gallery Marie, that's run by a lot of people might know Kimberly Camp, Perkins Arts Center, and Everett Wilson Design, just to name a few. The community itself is 2 art fairs. At the end of August, they have a weekend special art center thing going on. And in the fall, they also have an art fair that's mostly sponsored by Perkins and the community at large. So it's one of those places that really supports the art. They have a community there. I should also talk about where the other street that bisects us, which is Haddon Avenue, which connects Collingswood, Westmont, Haddon Township, and most importantly, Haddonfield. So the east end of our town touches Cherry Hill. Most people who know New Jersey know Haddonfield, Cherry Hill, because that's the place where the people live. Plus there's the mall. And always a big jump. And so, it has a lot of opportunities there, and we also partner with members of our community for the Haddon 600s, which every second Saturday of the month, it'll start in May this year, because Easter's getting in our way. But May through December, we have a themed walk-around party, and this is a very walkable town, where we have beverages and drinks and late-night shopping to draw people in to come around and check us all out, and hopefully come back and visit us over and over again. So,
Pertaining to your gallery, what are your hours?
our hours are Monday, we're closed, because we need to sleep. wants a private tour or has been inclined to ask about a particular piece, they can come in and see that. We are very active online, so we do have an online store as well as a footprint. We sell mostly out of the footprint, but we have another online sale. And as I said, we do a lot of things online as well. So that's what we do with our Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Thursdays, we're open 5, or, yeah, we're open.
It's Thursday,
11
is
to
11 to 5.
Five.
Friday is 11 to 7. Saturday is also 11 to 7, and then Sunday is from 11 to 4.
Okay,
And what's your percentage?
30.
30.
Yeah, we try to, look, I've been an artist for a long time. We are as much interested in being art for everyone for artists as we are art for everyone for the buyer. So we try to do a lot of things for that 30% that we're going to take from you to promote you, but we also expect that you will be promoting us. So you will be tying into us for all these things, and we will be tying into you, and so we try to keep it at 30%. All entries to our shows, except for the jury show, because we have to pay the juror, and if we have enough money left, we give out little prizes. It's free. We don't want you to be paying entry or hanging fees or any other hidden fee that artists often get charged. Any?
No. I would like to introduce Rachel.
Hi. So InLiquid will be 24 years old in September. It's a nonprofit, so it's a different business model. It's a membership-based organization. We're based in the Crane Arts Building. We've been there for going on 18 years. So the mass exodus over to Kensington and Fishtown, we'd like to take credit for, even though everyone keeps saying it's the Crane Building or the Clay Studio, and it's neither. It's us. Because we started Art with Cash Floor there, and that was sort of a big impetus, and we've been doing that for going on 24 years, and the date for that is June 10th. We're a membership organization. There's 3 periods to become members. We do not represent you. It is just a membership. We have 130,000 people who use the website. It's for marketing, it's for promotion. We have an online store, we have an artsy page, we do a big silent art auction every year, except for this year it's going to be March of 2024. We have about 7 other spaces that we curate through the city. And the only thing that's guaranteed as a member is there's a New Now show. It's every summer. Every new member who joins within that time period can be in that show. But the website is really what it's about. You know, we've got drive a lot of traffic there. Curators use it all the time. People looking for artists are using it all the time. Our opportunity sections, if you're not looking at it, look at it, because that has very well curated opportunities for jury shows or other opportunities. And it's open to everyone. If you are a member, there's a member newsletter that comes out that are things that are specifically geared towards us. We didn't want to represent artists when I started this. You know, the Philadelphia gallery scene was actually a lot more robust than it is right now. I lived in Old City. I live in Old City still. At the time, there was 48, 50 galleries. And now there's like 5, maybe, on a good day. Even though Paradigm is now moving over there, and so is BYO Print and Create. But it's not the same city as it was 24 years ago, honestly. And, you know, I thought when I opened the gallery at the Crane, I was either the smartest or stupidest person because all the brick and mortar galleries were closing. But now we also have a bid in Fishtown, and they're doing a lot of work to really energize that neighborhood. The West Collection just went into broke ground for the first time in 6 years. There's a rumor that Foreman Arts Initiative might be buying a building. Wexler is now moving on to Frankfurt Avenue. Clay Studios there. Problem with Fishtown, Kensington, it's really the distances between places are far. So it'll be interesting to see how this all works. But, you know, in the past 3 years, if you have not been there, there are buildings everywhere. It is a totally different place. When I moved there, I couldn't get employees to move down with us, and tumbleweeds were going down American Street. It's not the same place. You can't find parking. Take a lift. But we've worked really hard. We do a lot of art placemaking, which is not, something that is part of membership, but a lot of people come to us looking for artists and looking for artwork. So we do a lot of corporate work, we've done a lot of residential work. You know, and it's because we know, you know, who's doing what in the city, and we're very invested in supporting our community. Although we're, you know, Philadelphia-centric, not all of our members are Philadelphia. It was very important when we started that we were not going to reinforce the provinciality of Philadelphia. And so we work with a lot of artists. I went to art school in New York. You know, there are friends of mine, our colleagues from New York, and from galleries I've worked in New York. But, you know, I have to say that most of our opportunities are here. We've done some fairs in Miami, we've done fairs in New York. We might start doing them again, but I don't know. It's all, you know, ever changing, which is why our name is InLiquid. And it's always moving, it's always in change. As an artist, you're either swimming or you're drowning, depending on a given day. And, you know, that is, you know, the part of the creative process. Yeah, I have to say that, you know, our shows in our gallery are very thought out as far as we plan year to 2 years out. Some of the smaller spaces are probably more nimble because they're, you know, they're based on what is happening. We had, when the pandemic happened, artwork all over the city. That was pretty crazy, and we're finally sort of right-sizing our schedule for the first time. Like, we will be back on track for the first time. Starting now, we have a big opening next week. If anyone wants to come, March 2nd at Part-Time Place. It's an amazing show. If you haven't been there, they have an amazing art collection. It spent $1.2 million on Philadelphia-based artists. Not all of them are Philadelphia-based, but most of them, and they have a very robust programming. And like Carol was saying, like, we're a nonprofit, so everything we do is community-based. We have talks, we have workshops. We're going to be doing a long workshop on what to do with people's estates. You know, various different things that is necessary. We're going to be doing a workshop with John Carlano in a couple weeks, or maybe next week. I'm not in charge of the programming, on how to photograph your artwork using a cell phone. You know, because that's really important, because most people don't have cameras anymore, and people take terrible photographs of their artwork. And it really has to change, because we can't help you if your work is photographed badly. Because everything's on the web. And when we started, everything on the web, you know, you had to really control people's monitors. You know, now everything is evened out, so it's really everything, everyone's saying the same thing. So if your images are bad, it's yours. It's your fault. I mean, it's not the computer's. You used to be able to blame the computer, not anymore. So, you know, it's an ever-shifting dialogue. And, you know, it's ever-changing. And as I was saying in our gallery, like, we plan pretty far out. We try to make most of our programming representative of what's happening region-wide, or, if, you know, what's happening within the city, or of greater programs. Like, you know, Craft Now. Like, we participate. We're a partner organization. So we tend to have one of our spaces deal basically based with craft artists for that time period. Sometimes we do something during Design Philadelphia, sometimes we don't. We really try to think about, like, what is going to be the best way to, like, draw people and create some sort of uniformity in the messaging, because it's really important not only to use, we have 100,000 people who use us as a resource, but if you can tap into other organizations that are also, you know, to partner, you're sort of creating more of more relevancy, you know what I mean, and more traffic and more everything. I mean, that's why we've been able to survive for 24 years. It's about being very strategic, partnering, being very nimble, and being very thoughtful about our programming. I can't say we don't always do solo shows, because we have to. You know, we're doing a show in October. Hopefully it'll be grant funded. We find out about the NEA next month. That is a queer, trans, Moroccan Jewish artist who's been photographing in the West Bank for the past 30 years. You know what I mean? It's hard to partner with someone else on that show. But it's very relevant, because there's a mosque around the corner from us that's a mostly Palestinian mosque. You know, and we're trying to create goodwill in our neighborhood because it's slowly being gentrified out. You know, and we're trying to create some sort of dialogue between our building and this mosque, and this is the start of that programming. So, you know, with that said, and, you know, we do sell artwork. It's really important for us. I mean, as an artist myself, like, I don't want my work sitting on a shelf forever. Like, it has to go live someplace. But at the same time, we do a lot of shows that are not sellable. Like, the show at Part-Time Place is very site-specific. And the reason we can do it there is that we don't have to pay for the space. And we have it's 14-foot high ceilings, it's mostly glass, and we have the ability to show work that's not commercial, and give an opportunity to artists to do something that they can't do anywhere else, and also give them a stipend, because that shows that, we have a budget for that. That's not typical, but that's part of our contract. So, with that said, every space that we treat or work in is incredibly unique. They're not cookie cutter at all. And they change. And sometimes when it looks like, like we're, we've reached the maximum of what we can do in this space, or if there's not enough buy-in, like we leave. We have a very thoughtful process in what works, what doesn't work, and trying to figure out how to stay, we're a small staff, 8 people, which is, very small for the amount of work we do, because we do 40 shows a year, and if you add art for the cash floor and the benefit, sometimes we're working up to 600, 700 artists a year, which could be really painful, depending on how high maintenance certain people can be. And we do, we're very systematic, you know what I mean? But like, at the same time, like, if someone needs extra help or care, we'll try to do as much as we can. And if someone's not a good fit for us, which sometimes happens, we will recommend other sources. We have an artist who just recently approached us, who is young and his work is just not quite there. And, we'll babysit him for a while to make sure that, he's okay. But like right now, it's not the time. It's just not. And it's not because he's potentially not a good artist, it's just he's too young, And so we really take what we do very seriously, you know what I mean? And it's not like we're, like, become a member, everyone can be. No, we're very selective. We have an art advisory committee, which is not anyone who works for me. There are a whole outside group of people who are curators, writers, professors for schools, and it's because we want to be, it's not our taste, you know what I mean? Like a lot of commercial galleries, it's about, a particular aesthetic. We're not. It's not about our aesthetic. We obviously, if you look, right now Claire, who's my programming director, who's awesome, everything's a little too craft-based, and too nature-based, because that's her interest, and, she's going on maternity leave, and it's all gonna be shaken up when she's gone. We work out with outside curators, because after a while, it's like, no more nature shows. You have your particular taste. That's one of the reasons why I don't curate the shows, because for a while they look like Rachel. It's not supposed to look like Rachel. So that is the big part of it. Our commission is 40%. Typically, when it changes is when we have to commission work. Like, we do a lot of public art, so if like the materials are really high, it might go down to like 80, 20, or whatever. And we still sell a lot of work on Artsy that is even after the fact. Like if anyone works with a gallery or works with, Artsy or any of those things, it takes a really long time for people to see things. Just because it's up there and it doesn't sell doesn't mean that it's not going to. Like we sell pieces sometimes 2 years after a show. Or sometimes, like, people look at things, like 20, 30, 40 times before they make a decision. It is really difficult to sell artwork. 3 things have to line up. The money, the desire, and the space. Those things don't line up, it can't happen. You know what I mean? So it's like we get people who purchase a lot, and then we don't hear from them for 6 months. And then they come back, and then we don't hear from them for another 2 years. Doesn't mean anything, it's part of the process. And then there'll be people like, I need something yesterday. And then you're scrambling to get it for them. But the one advice I will give, and I know we have to talk about a lot of it, is if you work with any organization, gallery, Carol, James Oliver, us, you've got to be really on top of it. Like if your work's not available, let them know. You know what I mean? Like if something changes, you let them know. It's a partnership. It really is. And we're only as good as the information that we have and how fast we can move. And it really is, you have to buy in to it because it is an incredibly complicated process, and we don't live in a country or a culture which values it as much as other cultures do, or other cities, honestly. So it is, something to realize that, it is a gamble for us as much as it's a gamble for you. you know, and, you know, the amount of work it goes into making shows sell is huge, you know, and it doesn't mean that that's gonna happen either. But, you know, but having good relationships and community and doing the work, it's all part of the game. You know, and also you need to be really clear about what your expectations are. You know what I mean? Like I always say for artists, like, what kind of artist do you want to be? Because if you can work backwards and say what you want, then you can put the pieces into it more easily. And also it's helpful for us because then we know, all right, so you're interested in exhibits. So I'm not gonna worry about selling your work because I have a show right now. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's really beautiful. It's the Wind Fellowship, and there's 10 emerging artists. They're all women, just by, you know, by the jurors. And, you know, there's a ceramic artist, a young Latino woman who has 3 pieces. I don't think she makes a lot of work, and none of them are for sale. And I think they're owned by other people, but I could have sold them at least 10 times. You know, but, you know, she doesn't have them for sale, and I don't even know how much they cost. And every time I ask her, she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, you've got to figure out what your value of your work is. Like, I can help you, but like, you know, I could have sold these 10 times over. You know, and you're doing yourself a disservice at this point. And I get it if you can't make more work because of like not being in school or anything else, but something you have to think about. Because that time is not going to always exist. You know, that's a finite period of time when you're going to be that, you know, relevant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not even knowing how to price your work at that point is not a good thing. You've never really figured it out. Because at least if she said, like, you know what, there were $2,500, I could at least tell the collector that, and they'll be like, okay, you know, maybe not now, maybe in the future. $2,500 is not a lot of money for the particular work. And as far as what we sell work for, it's all over the place. I mean, it can be a lot. We sold $40,000 sculptures, and it can be like a $10 print. I mean, it really depends on the show, place, who, where, what. In Philadelphia, generally speaking, I would say it's probably under 10,000. You know, and I guess our sweet spot is probably under 1,000. You know, but when we have the auction, it can go anywhere. Any other questions? Did I answer anything?
Yeah, no, you know, it's membership based.
We're membership based.
And is there a tier system, like any sense of pricing, or is there a flat rate?
For the membership?
Yes.
There's 2 membership levels. There's a basic membership, which I think is $200 a year. I don't even know anymore. It's completely arbitrary, and it just ended up that price over like 24 years of doing this. And then I think the premium membership is $300. And you do get a piece or a couple pieces in new now, but it's really the website and the newsletter. And we're just under 10,000 on Instagram. We're close to 10,000 on Facebook, and I think we're about 4,000 on LinkedIn. We have 120,000 people who use the website. We have a newsletter list of just under 10,000. And that's for our main newsletter. And then I think our member newsletter is just for members. It's whoever. We have 320 members. But it's a tool. Like, you know, if you're basic membership, I think you can update your page twice a year. Premium membership, I think you can update your page 4 times a year. And anytime you have a show, you have something listed somewhere, you can send it to us, and we will put it on the website, and we will put it in the newsletter. But it's up to you. There's a form. Like, we don't hunt for information.
Yeah, I'm going to say that we at Powell Arts, myself as an artist, I'm with InLiquid at Powell Arts. We make sure we contact them with our opportunities or press releases. They're a great source for people around here, both buyers and artists. And when artists come in to show us their portfolio, which happens all the time, and they're a beginning artist, thank you, and they're a beginning artist, I take out a little card. I always have little cards with me, and I write www.inliquid.org. You want to check them out because they are a great resource, especially when they are going through something like figuring out types of art or where to go with art or pricing art, because it's all listed there. It, you know, and then opportunities there in NYFA, New York Foundation for the Arts, has opportunities all over the place. It's just one of the best resources for any area.
Yes,
Who's packing it up to mail it? The
We.
artist?
we do all of it. Yeah, no, I mean, a big part of a lot of this, and I'll be honest, we pay so much money on insurance, you would not understand. And half of the clients that we work with, we can be vendors with them, but you can't. Because we have to go through, like, I don't know if anyone works with, like, building supply places or any of that type of stuff. Like, the amount of hoops and hurdles that you have to do to become a vendor for any large building like Brandywine or Spark is pretty phenomenal. And the amount of insurance, liability insurance that you have to carry as an organization. I think we carry up to, we're $2.2 million, but if we do anything in New York, it has to be $10 million. And so we're also insured that any artwork outside of our possession is insured up to $500,000. So, I mean, we have an aggregate of $500,000 worth of insurance outside of our studio. So anything that leaves is insured, so it's a lot of responsibility. So when we actually sell anything, we ship it and sell it. It comes to us and then we pack it and we make sure.
The artist brings it too.
Yeah, and the only thing that we sell through the shop is stuff that we have in-house. But artsy, like, the artist will keep it, then they'll bring it to us, and then we will ship it, and then we will make sure.
That's good, not having to deal with that yourself.
Yeah, it's a big thing, because I think, shipping is very risky. It's also incredibly expensive. Being a nonprofit, we get certain rates and certain things other people don't get.
It is expensive, I was calculating on two things to president.
Oh, yeah.
I went to FedEx and nice.
Oh, it's
There you
crazy.
go. He said $550. I was like, what? And it's a 3-day air. And, I said, I included the price, I couldn't go back to whatever, And he said, well, we could do ground for, it'd be 7-day ground. I go, how much? He went like 200. Like, yes, do it.
No, it's really, really difficult. We had a piece that was just, we sold to someone in LA just before the holidays, and it was packed and shipped, and FedEx dropped it, and it was ruined. And we were lucky that they did take one picture of it, so we do have an insurance claim. But it's...
But because you packed it, it goes through a claim process, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to unpacking it.
Yeah, but the tricky thing is, and I'll be really candid, we have our insurance, which, it's risk. Insurance is risk. They don't think you'll ever use it, which is why they give it to you, right? So when you do use it, they go, oh, well, we can cancel it any time. And I'm like, so we're paying X amount of dollars per month to have insurance that you don't want us to use, so you can make money, but if we have to use it, then you'll cancel it, right? So it's always in this place, we're always in this constant state. If something does get damaged, whether we can make a claim on it, because we don't want to, because they can go, oh, you know what? We don't want to insure you anymore.
I went there 35 years ago in my house.
Yeah, so, we were lucky that, so that is the thing, that we've made it a rule now that, unless we have photographs or, proof of damage, we can't refund anything. But yeah, it is, there's something to be said about working, I have a lot of artists who work through Instagram, and they sell a lot of stuff through Instagram, and that's great, because maybe you're not splitting the commission, even though your prices should be the same prices you would put them at. If you're in a gallery, they should be less. But you're assuming a lot more responsibility and liability. You know what I mean? Whereas if you work with a gallery or another organization, they're assuming the risk and liability. Not to say that, that's always fun, but there's something to be said about working with, someone who set the proper insurance and proper everything else, and there's a professionalism that exists that doesn't exist if you're just an independent artist.
I think most people know that I'm part of the off-wall gallery at 30 Franks. I've been curating for 17 years now. I work with Togo, who's in the back there, the mad genius that makes all the brochures, the labels, the website, the Instagram. He's phenomenal. And so we're two partners that run the gallery. Mary Liz started it back in the 70s, I guess. And I think we're probably the only gallery that has the most amount of hours open. We're open from 4 to 2 a.m. 2 days a week, and then 1 to 2 a.m. the other 5 days a week. So it gives us the ability to have a lot of eyes on the art. And we have a lot of people who come from different countries. And because of just the age and the population of Dirty Franks, we get a lot of different people, which is great. So what I find interesting, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is that throughout the years, I've been really lucky in the sense of having the ability to have artists on the wall. It's almost like it's a platform for them, because like 10 years goes by, they're doing amazing work. I can't even afford them anymore. So, which is great. I'm proud of them. I'm amazed, and I think it's great. Isn't it sad? Because want to keep collecting. But needless to say, what was really interesting to me is like those artists who have the reputation and the provenance and everything that's behind them now. Some of these artists that I'm bringing in are pricing themselves like in the same ballpark, and I'm trying to understand why. And I'm not trying to lower anyone's price point at all, but I think of what I wanted to do was open the conversation, and in the sense of, I've been doing a little research, found this book, Matt Tommy, which I find really interesting, might be a good read for people, it's very short. And also, because I bought the book, I got the ability to download the price worksheet. So I printed out like 50, and if you want to take one with you, I find it really interesting. And I'll hand that out at the end. There was also another person that I found online, Lori Woodward. She has like seven ways of pricing your work. What is it? It's called The Simple Formula. And that might be really intriguing for people to read as well. And then there's the Artwork Archive. That's a website that I found to be really informative. And I was talking with Rachel a little bit ago, and according to them, artists should be making $24.58 per hour. And obviously that's an average, but it is an interesting number. And so how do we get to that number is my question. And then there's, because I was talking so much for the past 3 weeks or so about pricing artwork, my phone came up with the art price calculator. It represented itself to me as an app that I can download. So of course, I was curious, so I uploaded it, and it's hilarious. It's a very sophomoric gauge, and I really don't know how they came with these numbers, but it's something fun to play with, to be totally honest. It's the art price calculator.
If you Google it, it's online. I read the archive one too. I think I emailed that.
I think you emailed me the simple formula, or the seven rules. Yeah, the archive is the 7 rules. So I think that's a really interesting, 4 places to look at that I found really intriguing. I'm sure there's a lot more information out there.
Oh, Google's full of it.
Yeah.
And most of it's, some of it's good and some of it's really bad.
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice that is helpful to everyone in this room is we all have been go around to shows and see what art is selling for in your area, and the other thing is talk to each other, especially if you have a friend and for whatever reason it's like, man, their stuff, which is similar to my stuff, seems to be selling. What's the key factor here? And it could very well be, one of the things it could be is the price. How did they come up with their price as opposed to how you came up with your price? Also, look at what you have. Are you using student-grade canvases? Are you using framing that you've got offline from China that has a piece of, I don't know what, acetate instead of glass in the frame? Buyers look at this stuff and they go, $500? This is like, it's wobbly. It's not well made. It's not put together well. They look for quality, and you are worth making something quality. That's what you should be putting out there. It's very important. But talk to each other, because a lot of good advice comes from your fellow artists.
how many artists do, length by width? The square foot, length by width, and then they come up with and so, okay, I think what I really would like to do is just open up for, Q&A. So, like, is that an equation that you use?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so can you explain to us how you?
Well, when I first started selling, I didn't have any idea what to do. So I Googled it, and it seemed like working artists, as opposed to something with a real name, let's say, like a Walton Ford or something like that, in Chelsea or something like that. Priced by size. So it's pretty basic. If you have a 20 by 16 painting, it's 320 square inches. People talk about, well, when I first started painting or selling, I would sell for 50 cents. So it's 320 square inches, 20 by 16 painting, that's $160. And they said, now I'm getting $4, $4 or $5, square inch, and that would be at $4, that would be over $1,200. And so, how do you find where price point to start at? I got spoiled because I sent some stuff up because I was up there for a wedding to the Provincetown Art Association Museum. They have a silent auction. If you become a member up there for $50 a year, they have jury shows, non-jury shows, and they have a silent auction every year. And if you pay $50 a year, you could enter these shows. Of course, you have to get people hooked up there at Provincetown. And the silent auction they have every year, which is kind of fun. Everything's 12 by 12 inches, and sort of like a quilt, almost the way they put it up on the wall, And it starts at, I think, $150 or $125, and then you have to go to whatever because it's a silent auction. And I saw somebody pay $100. I was like, okay, 12 by 12 is 144 inches divided by 800. Was that like over $5 a thing? I thought, well, this is great. And I learned really quickly that's not realistic.
That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, so I realized I had to really dial back. That was an auction situation. You have a lot of tourists who are buying other places. Prices are getting all different. So I realized I sell a lot of my stuff on the sidewalks of Philadelphia. I'm regular, and I found a sweet spot between $300 and $400 for a 20 by 16 painting. I'm getting about $350. Started at $300. I was able to up it by 25. Now I'm getting like $350.
Okay.
And that works. But that's, the sidewalks of Philadelphia, there's a ceiling to what you can get on the sidewalks. People, walking down the street impulsively buying a painting. But that works out to $1 square inch.
Okay.
To answer your question.
So now, David is selling on the sidewalk, right?
Mhm.
And your price is $350,
Yeah.
right? Now, when you go into a gallery, now your prices are changing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another question that I want to ask. Why is the retail different from the gallery? Because you're actually underselling the gallery now. And then it
Yeah,
becomes
it's an issue. I mean, the easy answer obviously is that there's no middleman, and the gap in the commission's not there. So,
Understood,
Yeah.
but now,
so you could argue that it's the same value just without the commission.
but that actually, and I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but,
You're also spending your time on the sidewalk selling it, so it should still be higher than.
right,
Yeah.
because you're compromising the integrity of the gallery.
Mhm.
And you're also underselling yourself. So,
Compromising your own work too.
yes.
By not giving enough value to
Mhm.
the public, your own to yourself.
That's a good point. I personally don't like, to me, I don't mind being on the side. I like meeting a lot of people. I'm pretty talkative, so I kind of enjoy being out there. And I've met some, nice people, interesting people actually has helped, my career. And, are you saying the galleries, that's something galleries would be angry about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I know.
Is that bottom line?
Oh, yeah. It's not really an anger to do
Yeah.
something like that.
Disappointing.
In not understanding,
Yeah.
like,
I've been with commercial galleries in New York and Philadelphia, and even before I was in the States. And the thing is, the price that I sold there is the price that is sold. Because even after shows, you get people who come in and they will find contact information for you. People are good at finding contact information for you, and they'll call you up and say, "Do you have this painting? And how much will it cost me to buy it from you? I want to come. I saw it in this gallery, and how much will it cost me?" I always
gallery price, because you cannot undersell the gallery.
Hi, I know a few of you. I just wanted to, and I also would love to know your opinion, because I've had this like a little pet peeve I have, and I think it would be interesting for everybody to know. So I've curated a lot of shows around the city, and I've worked in partnership with a lot of people. And one thing that doesn't happen often at all, but once in a blue moon it happens, is I'll be like, oh, by the way, we talk about commission. Commission is like 40% off. So it'd be like, oh, okay, well, if that's the commission, add this percent onto it. And I'm like, and then it just drives me. But a lot of like mid-career or like, professional artists are doing this. And I tell them, and sometimes it's like, I don't know what to say. It's like hard to have a conversation about this. But I tell them, you can't add it on. It's not for the buyer to assume that they pay this now. It's for you, it's your commission is your price should be a blanket price across the entire thing. Everything you're doing is the same as every gallery. And people take different commissions, so figure out what you think a gallery is worth to you. That is what your overall price is. And you figure the commission, what you're paying the gallery, is for the gallery to promote, to hang all the administrative, for their visitors, for everything like that. And that's what the commission is for. The commission is not adding it on, oh, I have to give these people money, so I'm going to have the buyer pay for it. So,
It should be punitive. I mean, your fair market value is your fair market value.
Right.
Your retail price should be a retail price
everywhere.
And if you want to give someone
Right.
a discount, give them a discount, but you don't make it public.
And also, sometimes if people negotiate with the gallery, oh, can I have a discount? It comes out of what the gallery's going to make on the commission anyway. They're not going to go back to the artist and be like, oh, can we make it lower? So, I mean, the artist has to understand that. And also, sometimes you'll pay a 50% commission to the gallery. Sometimes you'll pay a 30% commission. Well, then you got more bang for your buck at the $30 commission, but you should have the same prices everywhere because people see your prices, especially if you're out more. So I was wondering if any of you have had this experience with people saying this, because I'm like kind of flabbergasted.
That's why I want to have this conversation, so yeah.
Okay.
So the only time that's come up is recently, and it was from an artist who's actually a commercial photographer. He doesn't have much of a fine art career.
Mm-hmm.
And he was terrible to work with, even though his work is good, and I probably would work with him again. But what he found out with the client was, he's like, oh, I should have charged more. And I'm like, no. Because your price is your price. And I don't care if you're new to this, but just because someone has money doesn't mean that you take advantage of them. Because, when we were pricing his work, because he hasn't had a lot of fine art experience, he's a good photographer, he's done a lot of work, but he just hasn't sold in that market. And, I priced his work based on, where he was in relationship to the other artists and and it was fair. And he was like, well, I really want a little bit more. And I said, I can get a little more for you, but that's about it. And then after the fact, he was like, oh, I should have charged more. I'm like, no. It's like, because there's a trust factor because, it's all about relationship building. And if you want to actually have people collect your work over time, or even people to keep working with you, there has to be that sort of understanding. It's not because, and you can't sort of say, okay, this person has money and this person doesn't have money. You know what I mean? It's got to be across the board. If you have someone that you bring over for post or something else and you decide you want to give someone a discount, that's your prerogative. You know what I mean? But it should not be public.
People make the mistake that if somebody is a very wealthy buyer, they should be paying more the commission, but the commission is between you and the gallery.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the buyer.
So when is
So the buyer knows your single price, and your single price is your single price, and that's it. They don't know about commission.
So when we do our contracts, if someone asks us for our commission breakdowns, we'll tell them. Like, we're pretty transparent about everything.
Right.
And the buyer, if they ask you, you need to tell them.
Yeah, but it's not for the buyer to assume.
But everyone asks for discounts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, very or who does not ask for one. And typically, like, if someone's buying a lot of work from us, we'll just offer them. Yeah, I mean, like, like we had someone buy 12 pieces, and then we were like, sure, we're gonna give you a discount because you're buying 12 pieces. But even before we get into that point, and for every show we do and everything, we ask up front, if the work can be discounted, because some artists do not want their work discounted at all. They want to be sold at that retail price. Some people are willing to go 10%. I mean, it's on our side that we take it, but some people don't want it to go on record that their piece is being sold less than the value. You know what I mean? So we try to be as candid as possible that we will be asked. We know this, and if we're not, we sell it at the value. But it's just something to be very transparent about. And
That's another thing that, when a gallery does go and sell something at a discount, the artist would still report that the retail sale is the same as what they've been asking for all across the board for their work. Because it's our discount, it's not coming out of the artist's work. And so, a lot of times people who have fluctuations in their price, there are a lot of very young artists who come out, and you just kind of have to shake your head and say, no, maybe we want to add a little more money to this. Then there are other artists who are mid-career and they have a track record and they know what things are selling for. Their biggest question is always, at what point should I maybe up my price? And my thing is when you've sold any number of works from that body of work, that it's relatively easy. I just use a standard number. Have you sold 5 works within a 12-month period from that body of work and only been in a couple of shows, or you sold a show out entirely when you were in a solo show? Maybe up your work by 10%. A lot of people say 20%, but I'm a little more careful, and I said
12 to 15%.
yeah. So you up your work at that point, but but pricing's difficult because there isn't really a standard. It's not like going out and buying a car. You know what different car rates are. This is a luxury car. I'm going to be spending this much money. This is a Kia, and not to pick on Kia, but this is this kind of car, and so you're expecting that. People know it's a luxury good. They know that it is something that's special and important and adds all this cake, to them, but it's not like it's standardized. And the art market, even at the upper levels, is even less standardized because that has much more to do with branding, stories, gossip. I mean, it's yes, yeah. That Sylvester Stallone can walk in and sell a painting that he's done. Not to say he can't paint, but but he will sell it for one price, and you'll do something that is similar, and it'll be like.
I have a question which is directly in the thread that you're talking about. Or not all the time, but a lot of the time you see in a solo show, an artist says all the pieces are almost like the exact same size. If you're starting out and you said you want to raise your value, what if you have small pieces, you have big pieces? What if your pieces are all different sizes? Should they all be the same price?
No.
But without an established market, how would one, what's your advice
You
to
actually
the
have,
panel? What's the advice for that then?
you actually have 2 questions there, and one of them has to do with consistency. So basically, what you have to do is look at your work and say, okay, these sizes are my small works, these sizes are my medium works, these sizes are my large works, and then you are consistent in how you price them across the board.
Your smaller ones, your medium ones, your large ones.
Right.
You're as consistently with the size.
Yeah.
Now, some might be, like, say, for instance, you have 2 that are the same size, right? And you value one a lot more than the other, and people really like it more. say you have it, you were thinking about having both of them at 300, I would go sell them for 300, you know, maybe 360. One you can clearly know is better, you know, or even 400, doesn't matter.
I think it also depends, like, I've dealt with a lot of artists who have like two bodies of work. They have like their really fine art stuff, and then they have their more like commercial work too. So being clear and differentiating what work is what, you know what I mean? Especially with like ceramic artists, you know, they have like, you know, they might have their fine art work and then they have their more production stuff, you know, and making sure that, but you know, being very clear what the intent and what the work is and why. Like right now we have a show up and it's a beautiful show at the Crane Building, and I haven't had the chance to have this conversation, but, you know, with the artist, but like, I mean, her pricing's really weird, candidly. She has really small pieces that are quite expensive and some larger pieces that are around the same amount of money. And the only thing I can figure out without having had this conversation with her is that it's like the materials in the pieces that is why the cost is up. You know, and you know, it was, you know, an unfortunate show that happened very fast, so we didn't get to do like as much like forensic stuff as we typically do for a show, because you know, it was like we got the, you know, there's a new small space at the Crane Building that opened up, and this is a show on the women's uprising in Iran, and it happened really fast, like within 2 weeks. I mean, I'm not worried about it because, like, it's not that important, you know what I mean? But when I was looking at the pricing, I was like, I don't understand this at all, you know? And I, you know, and having looked at the things, I could only think it's materials.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, a lot of times that happens with, particularly with jewelry.
Yeah.
But you have two pieces that look very similar.
It might be,
But-
like a gemstone or something.
Yes, it comes down to, well, there's actually been artwork that, I haven't shown at Powell Arts, but, I put into a curated show, and, people were asking, like, why is this, like, $300 more than this? And it really comes down to, that's a resin stone, this has gemstones in it, and so,
I tend to price mine based on time. Like, I tend to base, it's three things I base: time, framing cost, and commission. You know, is how I generally come to my basic cost. And a small piece could take as long, sure, depending on what it is, a larger piece, but it sounds like you're advocating size as a price versus this length width thing versus time.
I think it all plays into it, you know what I mean? And I am like not a huge fan of people pricing artwork just based on time, you know what I mean? Because, you know, time is really useless. What might take you a long time might take someone not a long time. For sure. And secondly, I mean, if you see the type of work, then, you know, and the quality of work, that should be very obvious in the piece. The problem is, and this is where you come in this hourly rate, like, what is your time of work? And depending on what city, where you are, that is a very loaded question. You know what I mean? And, you know, sometimes people put hundreds of hours in a piece, and you can't charge all that time for a particular piece. You know what I mean? So it really has to be like market-based, size-based, time, you know what I mean? You have to look at it very holistically, you know, and that's why research is really important. You know, that's why you've got, like now, we have the web and we have Artsy and we have all these tools that you can like look and you know, compare. Because, I mean, I think, you know, I know your work pretty well, you know what I mean? And I understand why it's time-based, you know what I mean? But for, you know, and sometimes it's just pure reputation for some artists. Like, you know, they've been able to show at X gallery and they've been able to sell their work for a certain amount of money, and you get grandfathered into that. Like I had a show in, you know, in New York galleries. My work is my price because I showed it in New York. You know what I mean? And that, you know, travels along. And then at a certain point, your price goes up because you're able to maintain it. You know what I mean? But that doesn't work for everyone. But I think, you know, you have to be fair with yourself when you're looking when something is really time intensive, and really look at like what you're putting into it, but then what in the value of every other gallery that's showing similar work, what are they selling that work for?
There's one time when I do say, put the time in, and that's commissions. If you're being, if someone's seen your work and they like it, but, you know, they want this little thing changed or that little thing changed, or they want it to be more personal to them, this happens a lot with portraiture, they're going to expect that size portrait that you're doing to be approximately the same price. As an artist, I always say to them, well, I'm doing this one just for you. There will be extra steps in my getting to know the subject matter, how I'm going to do this, composition, everything else. So I will be charging you X dollars per hour, and I usually put it somewhere between $20 and $25 an hour.
So, but with that said, I just commissioned an artist who I've worked with a lot for 3 big paintings that were basically all based on a series of paintings that I showed like 4 years ago, pre-pandemic. And his prices changed because he sold a lot more work since then. But he was actually going to charge almost like 25% more. And I had to say, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have that big of a job. Because even though it's being made for this client, it's not like brand new like work. You know, it's basically the same thing that you do. And you can't sell it this price in a gallery for the same size and then sell it for this price for a commission. And that's crazy. You know what I mean? So I think you need to be really, consistency is the most important thing.
So in terms of, I'm gonna go back to, I think James talked about this a little bit, or you all did, but. So if you have like 5 paintings, if you're representing an artist, you know, there's 5 paintings, they're all 20 by 20. A lot of artists, and it's not like sculpture and stuff like that, where there's materials, issues of materials, into a suite, you know. A lot of artists, you know, have favorites of their work. You know, whether or not they want, you know, they put things in different buckets. Let's say, I love this, I like this, not so much, or whatever. But would you, if you have an artist and you have they're all the same size, are you going to price them the same or not?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a photographer. Like, photography is photography. You know what I mean? If it's a 16 by 20 print, it's a 16 by 20.
I mean, that's what I do, but
you know, I mean, unless it's like.
Even though I have favorites, I do price them the same.
Right. I mean, the only time that would change for me is if I do this, you know, platinum plating print, where my material costs are so much
Right.
different.
Materials are not an issue.
You know what I mean? But like, yeah, you're basically, you know, keeping everything pretty consistent, unless the materials are really drastically
Sometimes
different.
materials from the same size, materials might change from piece to piece, and they might look similar, but there's more money, more cost, more time put into that special piece. I'm gonna charge a little bit more because the artist, you know, it's gonna do them a favor. I'm not gonna sell it anyway, so I can charge them extra, but 8%, 10%.
Right.
Yeah, and all it buys them in that, and they'll say yes, and it reflects in the sale. You know, and when the buyer's happy, the seller's happy.
And that doesn't, like, when buyers come in, they see them same size, but they like, doesn't create like drama.
Well, you have to be able to talk to them.
Yeah, that
If it's
too.
different
It's
series, different
within
year.
$50, $60.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's all. It looks at 300, 350,
Yeah.
325.
But
And
then
you know, it still depends.
Yeah, I also think that depending on, if it's the same size or from different years and different bodies of work, then you can justify different prices.
Mhm.
You know, if they're from the same series, same time period, same work, then
Yeah,
you have to keep it pretty consistent.
you have to be logical.
I mean, there has to be a method to your madness, so that when someone actually asks you the question, you can answer it. And if you can't do it, then you have a problem.
I think it's good to note all of your variables, like if the variable is how long I've worked so long on this, I haven't worked that long on something else. This is a small painting, this is a big painting. The small painting has more precious materials, and it took me longer. The large painting didn't, so if you balance all these variables, you'll kind of see where your pricing is. And I think it's smart for one artist to also judge your pricing of some artworks based on your other artworks. Like if it's within the same body of work, well, this one is more materials that took me a long time, and it's small, this one's large. You know, all these variables kind of, they're reciprocal, or you see how they balance each other out, and you'll come with some of those prices that way. And, you know, because if you're doing the same thing, and I totally make sense, is everything is like the same materials, the same way, the same size, those are gonna be, the same price because there aren't as many different variables.
We have a question.
And I'm just wondering, like for paintings, sometimes paintings are sold without frames, sometimes they might have a pre-made frame or a custom frame, which can be very expensive. And how do people factor in framing costs? That's sort of an additional physical cost to the work.
You work it out with the artist, you know, if I'm signing with my gallery, sometimes we'll take the top framing cost and split the difference or whatever those costs.
Yeah.
And sometimes the artist will say, you know, that's all built into the price, and we'll go ahead with our agreed upon commissions.
So, and typically we'll get like pieces that are framed, and it'll be the price minus the frame. So let's say we, you know, like we'll split the commission minus the frame, 60/40, and then we'll pay them flat out for the frame at what their price for the framing is. And then, you know, or they'll sell it unframed. So, I mean, it's, you know what, but, you know, Carol was right when she said, like, framing is like so critical, and the better work is framed.
Yeah.
People do not like buying unframed work. I'll be really candid. They don't want to be bothered, they don't want to think about it, they just want it as is. And the only people who are crazy enough to reframe work are like people like me, who want, you know, who like, framing is really important to me, the way it looks. And typically, if I don't like it, you know, framed, I'll reframe it, you know, because it'll drive me crazy. But you know, but mostly people will like want to, you know, have the work framed. And there's nothing worse than selling an IKEA frame that's really shitty. You know, it's terrible. And I get that people don't want to spend the money, but it just devalues the work overall.
Question, right? Yeah.
Isn't it practice, for example, my work is pretty big, like the one that I have now in the series is 1 meter 20 over 1 meter 20, you know, so for me to frame that series to showcase, it's gonna cost an arm and a leg, which I don't have. And what happens in that scenario, for example, like you?
I think, you know, if we're really large work,
Yeah.
I mean, most people are not gonna worry about the framing. I mean, as long as it's presented well and it's backed well and it's like, you know, and it's intended not to be framed, I think it's fine. I mean, we show a lot of work that's unframed. It's just not likely to sell as easily as something that is framed. But I would think about, you know, being really thoughtful about how you present it, making it ready to frame. And, you know, framing is really expensive right now because the wood costs are really high. And well, I think as long as you're being upfront and, you know, and if it's really big, a lot of people are not going to want to frame that either.
No.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, glass is really fragile, and if it's that big, and then you're getting into plexi, which is a whole other thing. So I think with something like that, that's a little less necessary. But I'm talking about like photographs or prints or like small paintings. Like, if you want to present it a certain way, it needs to be presented. You know, because it's more likely to sell if it looks finished.
And that's really the big thing. Make sure you have finished edges.
Oh,
Make
yeah.
sure that you have gone and gotten gallery quality, you know, stretchers and.
That's not your, it goes both ways. Like, I think, you know, I'm a big fan of quality. You know what I mean? Again, that, you know, the more careful you are about a piece and the better it is. But if that's not your style of work and that's not what you're selling, then you can't, you know, like, you've got to be true to what your art is. You know, and people are going to respond to it that way, and it's going to be presented that way. But, you know, you have resources. Like, if you're part of a plastic club, I mean, you have colleagues here, then you can feed off of other people and, you know, and ask. I mean, that's one of the things I think that, you know, is unfortunate when you're out of art school, but I don't know how well it works at art school anymore, is that, you know, you are part of a community of people that you can feed off this information from, or you can ask, or you can get people's advice. Or if you are framing, there's some really good framers in the city who are really smart about this stuff that can advise you. You know, like we use Trinity a lot. I mean, I think it's because, like, you know, we all know this from back in the punk rock days. But, you know, like, you know, they're not the cheapest, but they're really good guys, and we like working with them, and, you know, they're really upfront. They're not your cup of tea. There's a lot of other people. There's Brian and Keith, you know.
Worth mentioning, Trinity does
if you are framing your own work, they will discount.
Yeah, they give you a 20% discount if you're framing your own work.
Yeah, so that helps with the big show.
Yeah. And I think, a lot, there are, resources. It's really, that's why there's the beauty of becoming like a member of the Plastic Club or being involved in InLiquid or working with, James Oliver, we can guide people.
And in Liquid, you're supposed to have membership to be involved.
So yes, it is a membership-based organization. And not to say that we don't we like Art for the Cash Corp, you don't have to be a member to participate. Anyone who wants to participate, their work is good, can participate, and buy a table fee. If you want to participate in the benefit, you don't have to be a member. To actually be in certain shows, you have to be a member. And if you wanted to come in for an informational meeting, or we do occasional studio visits, we try to be as helpful as we can. We can't do it for all 300 people, so we sort of pick and choose. But we have workshops, we had a crit the other day, and that was, it was non-member based. I think it was 3 members showing artwork, but non-members could come and be part of it. I don't do all the programming, so I don't know all the rules for everything, and I don't want to, because I will never get anything done.
Your resource pages on the website. are
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, but you can always call the office, you know what I mean, and talk to Claire, or talk to Sarah, or talk to someone, and they will talk to you about whatever you need. But we are a membership organization. At the end of the day, we're only as good as our members, and we can only, and the reason being is that we can't be all things to all people.
I'm going to add that at Howling Heart, every first Sunday of every other month, we have what we call Coffee for Creatives. And you come in, we have coffee, we have snacks, we're very good on snacks. Bring an artwork, bring a book you want to talk about, bring yourself. We even sometimes have people who are not necessarily artists, but they are interested in art. And we'll get together, and it's like 6 to 8 of us at a time. And Sandra Benheim, who is an artist friend of mine, she has a show that's coming up, and she needed to try to figure out what work she wanted to include. So she brought a grouping of the works, and we all talked about it, and she got some ideas. There was another artist who was new to me, Nancy, I think her first name. And she came in and she even completed something, and she's like, I'm kind of stuck. I'm doing these gelatin prints, and I love doing gelatin prints, but I just don't know where to go next.
Nancy Hardy.
It wasn't her, it was another Nancy. Yeah, no, Nancy Hardy knows what she's about.
We have a question in the back here. Sorry.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I think you spoke earlier about, Carol, about seeing emerging artists who don't show very much, and feeling that their work was underpriced. And I was just curious, what are some hallmarks that you feel come out to you when you see works that underpriced works typically share, and maybe similarly, do you feel there are typical hallmarks of work that you feel are overpriced, or are there any trends that you see when you feel?
In both of them, I think that there is a certain, they're not thinking like business people, and they're not using logic. They're using their emotions. And people who underprice their work over and over have 2 reasons for doing that. One is that they want to hurry up and get people to buy their work, and they want it out there, and they want it sold, and you can literally feel the energy of, I want this so bad, coming off of them, which is really wonderful, and I just want to give them a hug. The other thing is, and I want to give these people a hug too, is a lack of confidence. I understand. Basically, you have your heart on your sleeve. You've made this thing. It's come out of you. It's your mind. It's your body. It's your time. It's your life. And you've made this. And yet, it's like, will anybody else not value it? And that is always a struggle that artists have. And when you watch watch that struggle and you see it come in, and it's like, you made this wonderful thing, and you are only asking $100 for it, and I don't understand this, and let's talk about this a little bit, you know, and then you, then as the person I am, I'm like, have you seen this person's work? I'll take them around the gallery and say, yours is as good as this, and I'll be think so, and I said, yes, I know so, because I chose you. And the thing is that you know, we lack confidence, where they want it so bad that they want to hurry up and sell everything out. And sometimes that works, and sometimes that doesn't. But in either case, you are not thinking logically about this. You're a business person. The people who are coming in to buy your work are not artists, are not emotives necessarily, and they can, and you have to make them understand this is unique. This is touching you. I'm glad it is. It's piece of communication, and you would expect if somebody made a movie about you that you'd pay a certain amount of money for that movie. Why not for this?
You just need to do the math. You know what I mean? Like, we had an artist that we sold. You know, he's a printmaker. He typically does art for the cash floor. His prints are inexpensive. But he sold a framed piece from a show, and it looked odd to us, and we questioned him, I don't know how many times, that the price was wrong. And he kept saying, no, that's my price. And then it sold. You know, and we have, like, I'm telling you, I am a nut when it comes to contracts. Like, if you read any of our agreements, you have to initial every paragraph, because no one reads. No one reads. I read a 30-page contract for my son's going to Taiwan this summer to study Mandarin, so he can get into Georgetown. That's his #1 school. Yay. Read it for mom. And I read every paragraph, because my kid going to Taiwan. Taiwan could be, you know, overrun by China any minute. You know, I am serious. Like, no one reads. And I have gotten to the point where I'm so tired of people getting upset, because it's like, you know, we're really clear. Like, it's really clear. You've got to price things in. And if you have something framed, include the frame price. And if it's something that's additional, then do it. Because that's where he got screwed. Was that the print is the price of the print, but he didn't include the frame. Now, we were very nice and paid him for the frame, but I didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? It was like a cheap. It was not a big deal. But, like, I felt really badly. He has some health issues. You know what I mean? But, like, I don't want to have to do that. You know what I mean? We move really fast, not because we're trying to be, like, cutthroat, but because there's a lot going on. You know what I mean? And, you know, and it's a business. You know what I mean? We're there to look out for you, but you gotta look out for yourself first. You know what I mean? And we did question it. You know what I mean? Because we do look at this stuff and go like, that's weird. You know?
That's where it's nice to be smaller.
Yeah.
Because we do consignment agreements, and Caroline's the queen of explanation. So you come in and you bring your own, and there's the consignment agreement, and we go through each point. We go through each piece of work, make sure the title's right, the price is right, you know, all this before you sign it, so that it's clear that anything that happens, it's there. We've had an artist who hasn't picked up his work for over 6 months. We have been calling, we have been emailing, his phone no longer answers. We finally were able to get in touch with him through Facebook, and here he moved to California, and I have his 2 pieces. And at this point,
They belong to you.
yes, and it
There's
says
a
that.
statute of limitations. If you leave something at someone's place, you know, it belongs to them, you know, and typically you could, not that anyone does this, but charge rental.
Right, and we could do that, and I didn't really want to do either one of those things.
And it's within our rights too. We do something for years to sell it for whatever we want to sell it for.
We're winding down as far as, I don't want to hold up the panel too long. Does anybody have one last question? And
The obverse of people underpricing their work. how do you deal with people who are overpricing their work through emotion and lack of logic? You encounter that as well as.
All the time. Yeah.
Especially somebody who is new to showing, this is my thing, and it's wonderful, and the price is just ludicrous.
There's something to be said about that, because, it actually does you a disservice. If you ever want to actually work in a commercial gallery, or and have gallery representation, no one's gonna work with you if your work isn't sellable and isn't priced right, because they can't make money from selling your work. So, so if you don't want to actually sell your work, then you shouldn't be doing that type of exhibits or shows or types of things, because no one's going to invest in you. You know what I mean? So, because it is, at the end of the day, we all have to pay our rent. I have, 8 people on health insurance. There's some really hard costs, and it's a risk every time we do a show that there's something's going to sell or something's not going to sell. You know what I mean? But if you make it impossible to sell, then why are we going to want to work with you? Now, granted, we're a nonprofit, so not all of our shows are commercial. You know what I mean? But there are certain shows, that should be sellable. And at a certain point, when nothing sells, it's because the pricing's wrong.
So you'll tell the artist, an artist whose work you like, that you feel the prices are just astronomical.
We'll say something.
You'll have a conversation, and if they see your point, they'll come down, and if not,
I think it depends on the person. Some people get it, and some people don't get it. I mean, I have to say that, the emotional attachment to your art at a certain point, the work has got to go live somewhere. You know what I mean? I get asked to show all the time, and I don't do it as frequently as I probably should, because I don't want to make work that I think may or may not sell. I'm not willing to take that risk, sometimes. Sometimes I am. You know what I mean? But after a certain point, I have this big photograph, I know someone wants it, I think I'm just gonna reach out to sell it, and I might sell it for less than I want to, but it's not doing me any good sitting in my office. At a certain point, yes, I love it, am I attached to it? Sort of, you know what I mean? But would it give someone else a lot more pleasure than sitting in my office, no one looking at it but me? Yeah. So at a certain point, and I have to say, we're all aging. At a certain point, you gotta look at your inventory. What am I doing? Because it is really scary. People get really screwed by having too much work left. And don't think that after you're long and gone, unless you're really important, the people are gonna be busting down someone's door or going to a website to buy your work. It's better being sold now and coming up with a plan right now. And if it's not good, and it's just on the fence, get rid of it. Seriously, they're burn parties for reasons. You know what I mean? Or gift it. Or if you've got that nursing home in your neighborhood that needs artwork, give it to them if they're willing to take it. But it's not doing anything. Sitting in a flat pile or sitting on a shelf.
Well, I would say nursing homes,
schools, libraries. They don't want it.
That's a whole other workshop on that.
Seriously.
Or you give good artwork to everybody.
Yeah, but
the thing is,
but don't, we've gotten pieces of art that have literally been pulled out from someone's bag, and it's it doesn't do anyone any good.
I didn't know that.
But it was funny.
I didn't know that.
No, but there are people who do overprice, and the best you can do is discuss it with them and usually find that it is an emotional connection, and they haven't quite let go of some aspect, subject matter, painting, whatever. And so we put it up for that price, knowing it's not going to sell. And when they come back after 8 weeks to pick it up, and they see other work is sold, and they say, well, why not mine? We've had this discussion.
The one thing I will say, that last point, is that if your work doesn't sell, you can't take it personally.
No.
Yeah. You just can't, because it all is about finding the right person at the right time in the right circumstance. And I get people who get totally bent out of shape, but that their work doesn't sell, and I'm like, it's so subjective.
If you ever saw how many people come in, and then it's the same person. And so they come in, they take another picture of it so that they can send it to somebody else to see if it's good enough. And you talk to them about it, if it's right for them and where they're gonna put in, blah, 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 blah. And 8 weeks have passed, and then they come in the next week and say, I'm ready to buy this. And you're like, it's not here. It's not here. Here's the artist card. Get in touch with them. And if their phone number's not on there, I will give you their phone number. And I usually, so people are just like that.
In a case like that, should you get the commission?
We say no, but
Should.
but wait, there are people who have paid us commission for that.
I think that's fair.
I think it's fair. I think,
You put a lot of stuff into that, but the problem is we have a legal document here that says that we are responsible for this artwork and everything else within this 8-week period. And
you can extend
it
that.
goes,
But you don't stop marketing it after the fact. We have a 3-month after the
Our
fact.
contract has all that built in.
Seriously.
okay. It's something.
You're young, you can do that.
3 months later, I still get some commission.
Jody?
I'm sorry, just on that night, how do you submit that to another show? It's going from your space on this day to this day.
So you should,
Excuse me. Thank you. If you want to continue your conversation, we have some cookies and some stuff like punch and water to drink down on the first floor.
I gotta